Hello to you and Happy New Year once again, especially to those of you who did not watch the last video in which I extended my New Year wishes. As I mentioned in that last video, my wish for you is that your diversity visa case gets scheduled for an interview as the DV 2023 program continues. Now, over to our discussion for today. Today we are talking about at NVC. In that last video, I recommended that you watch two of my videos. In one of those videos, I explained the different case status, but it seems that the at NVC status continue to be a preoccupation for many of you. And so that is what we will be discussing in today's video. Welcome as we begin. Let's begin by saying that NVC is the abbreviation for National Visa Center, which is the United States government office that is responsible for processing immigrant visa applications other than diversity visas. A parallel structure exists that we all are aware of, and that center is KCC, and they are responsible for processing diversity visa applications. So you have KCC processing diversity visa applications, and then you have NVC processing all other forms of immigrant visa applications. Two different centers processing two different types of visas. But when it comes to checking the status of those visas, things are not as they should be, especially with diversity visa cases. When all other forms of United States immigrant visa applicants check the status of their visas, they see at NVC for a start. But when it comes to diversity visa applicants, some see at NVC for a start, whereas others see at KCC for a start. And that has caused some of you to be bothered, but you shouldn't, because the difference is only in the caption. Some diversity visa cases were uploaded with the caption at NVC, while others were uploaded with the caption at KCC. But they are all, and they all remain diversity visa cases. So if you happen to check the status of your diversity visa case and you see at NVC, take it as at KCC, because that is what it actually is. Having made that clear, what does this at NVC, which we say is the same as at KCC, represent? At NVC or at KCC is the first stage that exists for diversity visa cases to go through after they get selected in the diversity visa lottery. When you check your diversity visa case status and you see at NVC or at KCC, it tells you firstly that you were selected in the diversity visa lottery. Secondly, it tells you that a case has been created for you at KCC. And thirdly, it tells you that your diversity visa interview has not yet been scheduled. So it actually runs from the time that your case is created after you get selected in the lottery up to the time that your diversity visa interview is scheduled. So someone who got selected in the diversity visa lottery and up to now they have not yet checked their diversity visa result and they do not know whether they were selected. If you happen to check the case status of that person, you will see at KCC or at NVC. It means that the case of that person is still at the first stage after he or she got selected in the lottery. Another person who happened to have been selected in the lottery and they checked their result. After checking their result, they did nothing else. They have not yet submitted their DS-260. If you happen to check the case status of such a person, you will also see at KCC or at NVC, meaning that case is still at the first stage after it was selected. The same applies to applicants who checked their result, saw that they were selected, and they have just submitted their DS-260. If they happen to check the status of their case, they will see at KCC or at NVC, meaning their case is still at that first stage. The same with those of you, and that's the case of many of you, who saw that you were selected, you submitted your DS-260 a while ago, your DS-260 has been processed, but nothing else has happened to your case is still at the first stage, and so when you check the status of your case, you will see that your checking returns at KCC or at NVC, meaning your case is still at that first stage. Even those who saw that they were selected and submitted their DS-260, those DS-260s have been processed and they are waiting to be scheduled for an interview. When such applicants check the status of their diversity visa case, they will see at KCC or at NVC, because all of that duration tells that you were selected, a case has been created for you at KCC, but so far your diversity visa interview has not yet been scheduled. This case status only changes when your diversity visa interview has been scheduled. Then it becomes in transit, which is a temporary case status that tells you that your case is being transferred to the embassy or consulate that should interview you. But all of the time before that happens, before your case is scheduled for an interview, when you check the status of your case, you will see at KCC or at NVC. Now, a couple of other things that you should be aware of concerning this at KCC or at NVC status. The first thing is that we said that it is the first stage that exists for diversity visa cases to go through after they get selected in the lottery, which means that there are other status or case status after at KCC or at NVC. I just spoke of one of them briefly, which is in transit. Another thing is that although these other case status exist after at NVC or at KCC, not all diversity visa cases leave from at NVC or at KCC. Many remain at that first stage. And the reason for that is simple. Most cases do not end up being scheduled for a diversity visa interview. That's the reason why you have most cases staying at NVC or at KCC even up to the end of the program year. Another thing is that this status, the at KCC or at NVC status, is the status with the most cases. When most diversity visa applicants check their diversity visa case status, they find that they are at KCC or at NVC. And the reason for this one is because of the number of entrants that are selected in the diversity visa lottery as compared to the number of visas that are actually available for all of those selectees. You have 55,000 visas available for more than 119,262 selectees in the case of the DV 2023 program. So throughout the program year, the bulk of these cases that will end up not being scheduled for interview find themselves at NVC or at KCC. And then finally, some may ask, how long do cases that move on to the other stages stay at NVC before moving on? There is no definite duration, there is no definite time that such cases stay at NVC or at KCC. It depends on when the case is scheduled for an interview. And as we said earlier, most cases do not get scheduled for interview, and so there will be cases that will remain at NVC even up to the very end of the program. And then someone else may ask whether it is possible for an applicant to check the status of their diversity visa case for the first time and see a case status other than at NVC or at KCC. And the answer is yes, it is possible. In case you had already been scheduled for interview before the first SEAC data were published and you happen to check the status of your case, you will see ready in case your interview has not yet taken place. And in case it has already taken place, then you will see the outcome of that interview. So yes, that is possible. So that is about all concerning this at NVC or at KCC case status. And that brings us to the end of today's discussion. Thanks for watching this video. If you have questions concerning this issue, questions that have not been answered in the video, then you are welcome to leave them in the comment area below and I'm going to respond to them. But make the effort not to ask the same questions that have already been answered in the video. And I will see you, God willing, in the next video very soon. Until then, goodbye.